Hello and welcome to Demented Squirrel Crafts. Today we'll be working on a hedgehog because February contains the International Day for Hedgehogs and I really like hedgehogs, so we will be making a Spikey Boy. This is an 8cm 4-inch polystyrene ball. We will be basing it the way I normally base my creatures. In the description there is a link to a video, much long in-depth video on how I do my basing. Also, totally recommend a lint roller for dealing with polystyrene balls and gold foil. It's awesome. So, cover it in foam, poke loads of holes in it, allow it to dry. If you want more information, check the description for the links to the other videos. They're more in depth. So I decided to add a touch of whimsy, a touch of fantasy to my little nocturnal creature by adding a set of wispy antlers. A bit like the jackalope from North American myth and legend. It's just something fun about adding antlers to a little creature that really shouldn't have them. I mean, hedgehogs are aggressive at the best of times, but they don't need extra weapons. They have spikes and claws and everything. So the easiest way of doing this is to have 2 pieces of wire and then wrap regular cotton sewing thread around them and then glue it to it. Because the craft foam won't stick to metal because it's not absorbent, if you were just to use the wire, the craft foam won't stick to it and it just becomes a mess. So you add the thread and the glue and then the craft foam sticks to that. Just make sure that they're symmetrical. And then we add the foam. Now this foam is the final layer, it's the final look, so you want to put it on and smooth it out really well, and it's basically a lot of fiddling and a lot of faffing to make sure that it looks as good as it can look, because we're just going to let it dry and then we're going to add some shiny to it at the very end. So once they're all done, you just leave them to dry and we'll get on with the next part. Once the body's completely dry, it's time to add the tummy and the other base layers. Now I took my time in deciding what colour I wanted the tummy to be. As you can see from the left hand side of the screen, I started with a more orangey colour and then added white and then added beige and then added some yellow in order to get the colour that I wanted. I'm going to texture it with the cat brush tool to make it look like fur. Now most hedgehogs have a little bit of fur and a little bit of soft spines built into their tummy in order to protect them. So it's just adding enough texture to make it look furry but yet not look like a cat fur. It's just a lot of fiddling and faffing and working on it to make sure that it looks the way I want it to look. Just add texture, more tools, add texture. Once that's dry, I'm going to add a base layer of texture to the rest of the body in a sort of a dark brown colour. I'm going to make it look like fur, curled up fur, so that when the spikes go into it, it's just not sticking onto a flat surface. It's going into a surface that's more dense and looks like the spikes are growing out of this textured layer rather than just being stuck to it. So once all of that is all textured, we're going to leave that to dry so we can work on the next bit. This is the start of making so many spikes. So I wanted them to have an ombre look, to go from the dark up into a very light colour. If you look at hedgehogs, they have a very light tip but a very dark body, because basically their spines are kind of see-through. They're like porcupines, that sort of thing. It's basically keratin and hair. So I made the ombre the way I make all of my ombres, by mashing it together, twisting it, rolling it out, mashing it together, twisting it, rolling it out, until I'm happy with what looks like a very burnt piece of bacon. And then I basically squash it until it's the right size and density that I want. This is the same as you do for polymer clay, for fimo, anything like that. The only difference is once this is all done, you have to work pretty quickly because it's air dry clay and it will dry. So I cut it down into all the little sizes that I wanted, rolled it into a little cone and then twisted it and then left it to dry, and then repeated that process many times. I think I made over 100 spikes. So it's just roll them out, twist them up, put them over to dry, roll them out, twist them up, put them over to dry, until I was very, very sick of making little spikes. But I also wanted to ensure that I had enough spikes and that it would cover everything and not just look like a blob with some spikes. It needed to look like a lot of spikes. So yeah, twist it so it all curled around itself, and then put it on a tray, and then left it to dry. I tried to make as many different lengths formations as I could. And then to add the spikes in, I just rolled a little bit of that dark brown clay, attached it in, added the spike in. This took a lot of faffing, a lot of looking at it and deciding where I wanted each of the spikes, because I didn't want it to look like it was just a line or a circular shape. I wanted it to look as random as possible, but also as cohesive as possible. So shorter spikes at the front where the face is, longer spikes in the middle or at the top, making sure that spikes went in all sorts of different directions, making sure that there weren't any obvious major gaps, making sure where it reached around the face that it was all blended in so it didn't look like a harsh line. This took quite a long time. As an actual making piece, this hedgehog took longer than anything I've made recently, even longer than the roses and longer than the just longer. It just took so much more time and effort to just put all the pieces together for something that looks quite small and not very complicated. It's, you know, it's a round ball, add some spikes, it should be fine. It just took hours to do it. So once all the spikes are completely dry and you can handle it without worrying about squashing all the spikes, then we want to add the face. So the face is the usual oval. Make sure that it fits on where you want. I made it with the same clay as the tummy, but just with a tiny extra bit of yellow into it. And then I just flattened it on and then added the eyes like I normally do with a chopstick and make a space for the eyes. I decided to use rhinestone eyes so they would have a little bit of reflection, a little bit of sparkle to them, as opposed to plushy eyes which are just round and domed. And I quite like how these turned out. Again, I don't use the adhesive off the back of the rhinestones, I just push them into the fresh clay, and because I've left a space behind the rhinestones, the clay forms around the edge of the rhinestones and basically holds them in place, like encapsulates them a little bit. If they were to fall out, it's quite easy just to super glue them in. And then I added the antlers in the place that I wanted them, and this changed over time because I decided I didn't want them in with all of the spikes. I decided to lower them later on, but I left them like this for the while the face completely dried and that everything was dry before we go on to the finishing stages. I wasn't particularly happy with how plain or white the tummy looked, and I decided I was going to add in some chalk pastel highlights, just basically dry brushing the top of them with a similar colour to the actual spikes, so some orange and some yellow and some bits of brown, cleaning up the face where I've overdone it, in order to make it a bit more three-dimensional and also to separate the face away from the rest of the body. And then I decided that I wanted to add some gold foil to the antlers to increase the whimsy, increase the fantasy. So gold foil, fake gold foil, this is not real gold foil, fake gold foil, you just need a foil glue. Basically it's a glue that dries transparent but remains tacky once it's dry, and once that's dry you add the gold foil in and burnish it. So just paint the adhesive everywhere where you want the metallic foil to go, and then you leave it to dry until it goes completely transparent. Only takes a little while. I am using gold metallic leaf sheets. Now these are imitation gold, they come in silver, they come in copper, a variety of gold colours. They normally work by static, So you can pick them up, you can use a brush, you can use your fingers. This is just imitation gold. Real gold leaf is stupidly expensive. And it will just stick to wherever you have your adhesive. And it will stick there permanently. Use a sponge, you rub it on. The more you rub it on and rub it together, the less gaps and lines you will see and the more smooth it will look. It will also stick temporarily everywhere. And the little bits will come off and you just have to wipe them off and, you know, make sure you're okay. But the gold foil breaks down into flakes everywhere, and I normally use a lint roller to pick up all of the pieces that are left everywhere. It's a bit like glitter, but not as evil as glitter. So yeah, you just rub it until you're happy and burnish it in and make sure that it's okay. I have moved the camera for the next video. So now it's time for pretty pictures. I am quite happy with how it turned out compared to my chaotic sketch. So here you go. If you enjoyed the video, please press like. If you'd like to see more of this, please press subscribe. We're so close to 100 subscribers. It's kind of cool. I'm super chuffed about it. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who has supported me through Patreon and given their support in a million other ways. All the links are in the description. Thanks for watching. If you stay to the very end, there's a sneaky of the next video. Have a wonderful week. Bye.